Gran Turismo tried to teach us the most valuable skill in racing, but it got forgotten back in 2002. Look at this. If you go in here, deep inside the copy of Gran Turismo 2, there's this little book and it explains the basics of racing lines. All tracks are different, right? Well, that isn't completely true. All racetracks are just a series of corners and straights in varying configurations. Let's ignore the straights, they're easy enough. So this leaves us with just the corners, which actually, as you'll see when you break it down, there are only 6 different types of. And this video will show you exactly how to nail each of these corners to master any track here on Gran Turismo. Look here, this is one of the most famous corners in the real world, Spa turn number 1. Then look here at one of the most famous corners on Gran Turismo, Majore's iconic turn 11. Completely different corners, right? Well, if you look again, you'll see just how similar these corners actually are. Same with Suzuka, Autopolis, Fuji, Deep Forest, they are all the same corner. You master how to take one, you master how to take them all. Every racetrack around the world is made up of straights and just 6 different types of corners. I'm going to run you through each of them and at the end give you my exact method to make sure I don't forget anything. The first of the 6 types of corners we're going to go through is a classic corner, which refers to a standard corner with only one turning point, meaning the driver needs to take the straightest possible line to maintain the highest possible speed throughout the corner. To do this, you aim for the tightest part of the corner at a single specific point, called the apex, where the car is closest to the inside of the curve, unlike a double apex corner, which we'll get to next. Examples of classic 1 apex corners are the first corner at the Red Bull Ring, the final corner at Brands Hatch, Autopolis turn 1 and Fuji turn 2. So I've come to the Red Bull Ring to show you how to do a classic 1 apex turn like the one here at the Red Bull Ring. So as we approach, what we're going to do is we are going to get as much space as we can on the outside. We're going to slam on the anchors at our braking point, then we're going to turn in, lift off, hit the apex and then accelerate as quickly as we can once we're in a straight line. So now we've had the explainer, let's have a look at some of these corners being taken in anger. The first corner at the Red Bull Ring is exactly as we said. Extend the width of the track as much as you are allowed to give yourself as wide an entry as possible. Sharp brake, then trail off as you turn in. Get those inside wheels over the curb, which is the apex for this corner. Straighten up as soon as you can on the exit and accelerate away. Last corner at Brands Hatch, same themes apply. Extend the track on entry, brake hard, trail off the brake when you need to turn in, hit the apex, straighten up as much as possible and get on the throttle. Autopolis turn 1, hopefully you know what I'm going to be saying by now. Wide entry in to reduce the angle of the corner as much as possible. Hard brake, lift off as we turn, hit the apex and be patient as the car straightens up, then get back on the loud pedal. We've covered 3 right-handers so far, let's cover a left to finish. Fuji turn 2. Extend the track as much as you can, often it's further than you think, on the right this time. Brake, trail as you turn in to hit the apex, wait and then accelerate away. After covering single apex corners, it's time to get a little more complicated as the next corner type is the double apex corner. It is essentially one turn that has 2 apex points. The goal though is the same, to maintain the highest possible speed throughout the corner without compromising your exit speed, which is often crucial for the following straight. Some double apex corner examples are Dragon Trail Gardens' final corner, Bruel at Spa, Autopolis turn 14 and the first corner at Laguna Seca. To show you the important parts of the double apex, we have come to the final corner here at Dragon Trail Seaside. What we're going to do is on the way in, we're going to extend the track width as much as possible. We're going to start turning in. This is where we're going to trail brake to hit the first apex. Then we're going to wait. You can even go down a gear at this point. Wait till you're straightened up, then get back on the power. Make sure you hit that second apex. And the reason you want to be straight is because more often than not, you've got a massive straight after it. So now let's show you how we take double apex corners at speed, as these are a little more tricky to get right because there's a lot going on. Dragon Trail Gardens final corner, the corner we were just at. Just like the previous type of corner, we want a wide entry, start braking in a straight line so that you hit the first apex this time. We're going to trail off the brakes to allow you to turn the car. Again, you need to be patient here. Wait until you have a clear straight line through the exit, then you can get back on the power, hitting the second apex on the way through. Heading to a different corner now, Bruel at Spa next. This one is slightly trickier as the entry is downhill, so you need to start your braking earlier, but the principles of how to take this type of corner still apply. Wide as you possibly can be on the entry here, brake to hit the first apex, trail off and wait until a straight line out of the corner appears, then you're back on the power, clipping the second apex on the way out. Different corner, same technique. Autopolis, turn 14. Enter the corner hitting the first apex, brake and turn the car so you can accelerate and hit the second apex. Veering off the corner is something I always envisage as I go through here to help me out. Speaking of veering off corners, this works perfectly for our final example. The first corners at Laguna Seca. Wide entry as always, brake in a straight line as we have been, trail off the brakes, turning the car and then getting on the throttle as soon as we've got a straight clear exit, clipping the second apex on the way out. Our third corner on this list, the hairpin, needs little to no introduction. These are some of the most recognisable types of corners in all of racing. It's a U-shaped bend where you do a 180-degree turn and come back on yourself. It gets the name because it looks like one of these. A hairpin. I better make sure I give that back to my wife. But examples of hairpins around the world are Spa's turn number 1, Suzuka's hairpin, Majore's big banky hairpin, and Autopolis's really awkward kind of high dipping hairpin. So I've brought you to Spa here, turn number 1, to show you and break down what you should do to get in and out of a hairpin. So first of all, we're going to open up this corner, get right the way over to the left, pick our braking point. We're going to brake hard here and then we're going to coast for a little bit. It's exaggerated here. You're going to coast for a little bit and then you're going to lay apex because you want to get the car straightened up, because you can only get back on the power when the car's straightened up. Now you want to lose time on the way in rather than the way out, because you've got like 2 kilometers of racetrack to go, and if you're on the right tyres like we are here, you're just going to be flat the whole way to the top of the hill. So it's super important that you get on the power as soon as possible. Here are the keys to taking hairpins quickly using some differing examples. Spa turn 1, as it's a right-hander, we're going to move to the left to widen the entry as much as we can, as we've done with every type of corner so far. We're going to brake hard, trail off as we turn in, coast through the apex and then accelerate away in a straight line. Where there's a hairpin leading onto a long straight such as this one, a later apex is actually better than the ideal apex, so the car is straightened up earlier to allow for the throttle to be applied much earlier. Suzuka now, this is a left-handed hairpin, but again we need to widen the entry by keeping right. Hit our braking point, turn in and coast through the apex to allow us to get back on the power. Major, this looks very different now to the 2 other examples that we've covered, but this is still a hairpin, only it's taken at much higher speed. It has high camber so we can take more speed as we widen the entry and really throw the car in. Again we coast and then get back on the power as soon as the car is pointing straight out of the exit. The final example at Autopolis is a difficult one because it's at the peak of what feels like an absolute mountain. Regardless of the variables though of this hairpin, our principles remain. Wide entry, hard brake, trail off as we turn in, coast, full power when straight on exit. Next up are connecting corners. Connecting corners come in many different forms, different lengths, different sharpnesses, but the principles, as I'll mention in a moment, are all the same. They can also be referred to as S's or chicanes in some instances, but these are essentially, as the name of them suggests, back-to-back corners that are connected. Connected corner examples that you may be familiar with are Interlagos turns 1, 2 and 3, Spa's S's, Monza's turn 1 and Trial Mountain's final corners. We've come to Interlagos to show you what to do with connecting corners. This first section is a really good example of one of these. Now we're going to get all the way to the right hand side to open up the corner. We want to hit this apex as late as possible here. So we're going to come in here, we have it late because we want to stay on the inside to open up this corner here and the penultimate one. You want to make sure that this is as flat as possible. It's all about the exit here because you then go onto this really long straight going down towards turn number 4. First up, Interlagos turn 1. As with all these corners, it's all about the exit out the second part. With that in mind, we're going to take the first corner as wide as the track limits allow here. Brake as late as you can, trail off the brakes as we turn in and hit the apex. We want to sacrifice speed on the way in to allow us to change direction ASAP and get on the power. If we carry too much speed into the corner, we will delay our ability to get back on the power, losing time and leaving ourselves vulnerable on the run down to the big braking zone of turn 4. Now the S is at Spa, a right then left here instead of a left then right as we've just covered. You want to be as wide as possible on the entry, brake and then trail off as we turn, keeping our right hand wheels on the rumble strip to open up the second corner's angle as much as possible. We are then going to do the same as we get onto the other rumble strips, wait until the corner opens up and we can straighten up and get back on the power for the short but incredibly important straight laying ahead. Next up we have Monza turn 1. Wide entry again on the way in, very hard braking all the way up to the point we need to turn in. We're going to trail off at this point, cut the first corner aggressively, opening up the angle of the exit of the second part of the corner. With the exit now opened up, we can get started accelerating much earlier down towards the Curva Grande. Finally, we have Trial Mountain's challenging final corners. Another difficult set of corners, but I hope you now see the same principle as with all of these types of corners still applies. Wide as possible on the entry, hard on the brakes and turn in. You need to be going slow enough to stay on the left hand side here for as late an apex as possible for the second corner. You need this because we need to get on the power as early as possible for a good run down the long start finish straight. The penultimate type of corner in racing is an increasing radius corner, which in simple terms is one in which the bend gets less sharp the further through it you go. It's one of those corners where you find yourself fighting the car as you're trying to get the power down as soon as possible, but the car isn't quite straight yet. In this type of corner, the phrase slow in fast out is a perfect way of describing how you should attack it. Some increasing radius corner examples are Catalunya turn 3, the Parabolica at Monza, the final corner at Interlagos and Dragon Trail Seaside. You know, the corner before the chicane of death. Welcome to Catalunya, where there is a fantastic example of a corner that has an increasing radius. Let's get through turns number 1 and number 2 here. At this track you're going to flare out here, which is going to mean that this then becomes an increased radius curve. And the way you do this is you keep it on the inside so that when you can see the exit, you can then get on the power. If I was super tight here and getting on the power now, I would just lose the back end straight away. So you've got to wait till you can get the car semi-straight, then you can get on the power here. As per our walkthrough, we're at Catalunya turn 3, and as you'll see with all of these corners, it's all about getting on the power as early as possible for the best exit. Because of turn 2 here at this track, we have a tight entry to the corner, so patience here is key. We're going to regulate our speed so we can stay as close to the inside curb as possible, opening up the exit. When we see the circuit straighten up, we can hit the accelerator and go. Parabolica at Monza next, the final corner. It's a completely different type of corner, but the same principle applies, being that it's all about the exit. We have an opportunity for a wider entry here because there's been a long straight, so we need to optimize that here by getting all the way out to the left. Heavy brake, trail off as we want to turn in, hit that apex, wait and be patient till the corner opens up, then we can get on the power and fire down the long straight. Let's check out the tricky final corner at Interlagos next. Slightly uphill entry here so we can brake later than normal. Track limits are very forgiving as well, so we can get super wide. We're going to brake hard, then trail off as we turn the car in, hit that apex and accelerate away, being careful not to run wide on the exit. Dragon Trail Seaside before the chicane of death is going to be our final corner here. Unlike the last example, this is a downhill entry this time, so you're going to need to brake earlier than you think. Hard brake until it's time to turn in, release the brake as we rotate the car, hit the apex and accelerate when the car is straight. Be aware though, and it's particularly prevalent here, if you miss the apex or your exit isn't sharp enough, you're going to have to wait longer to get on full throttle, which is going to cost you some serious time. Finally, a decreasing radius corner is the opposite to the aforementioned increasing radius corner, whereby the corner gets tighter the further you go through it. Really difficult corners, these ones, because they involve a lot of trail braking. Corner examples that decrease in radius are Daytona Turn 1, Suzuka Turn 1, Interlagos Turn 1, and the dreaded final corner at Fuji. Welcome to Daytona, which owns probably one of the most difficult Turn 1s in all of world motorsport, and that's because it has a decreasing radius curve for its first corner. So as we come into this here, we're going to take a wide entry so that we can brake in a straight line. Be as wide as you can so we can brake in a straight line here. We're going to trail brake the whole way into the corner, and then we're going to lift off completely as we hit the apex. And as soon as we can get the car in a straight line, we are then going to accelerate away. Here are the keys to being quick at the sixth and final type of corner we're going to find at different racetracks: decreasing radius curves. First corner at Daytona is a high speed entry. We're going to stay wide, as has been the case for pretty much every type of corner we've covered. Braking in a straight line, trail off as you want to turn into the apex, and then getting on the power in a straight line. First corner at Suzuka now, a tricky one. Again, high speed entry. Begin turning first, then hard brake in a straight line, otherwise you're going to be deep in the gravel on the left. Trail brake into the corner, be patient until the exit opens up, and accelerate away. Interlagos Turn 1, yet another corner you approach at extremely high speed. Super wide entry, as this one's a cambered corner and the track limits allow. Make sure you brake on time here, get it turned in as you trail off the brake, hit the apex and then get on the power ASAP as you straighten out the corners on the run down to turn number 4. The final corner I thought we'd look at is a corner many struggle with, the final corner at Fuji. Hopefully by now though you'll be better equipped to get through it quickly, as this corner is all about the exit. There's a 1.5 kilometer straight awaiting you afterwards, so a wide entry as always. We're going to trail on the brakes to hit the apex. Now get the car straightened up to get you on the power again as soon as you can for one of the longest straights in all of motorsport. Before we get into this and I give absolutely all of my secrets away, if this has done you a favour, can you please do one for me? Only 50% of people who watch my content are actually subscribed, so if you're one of those who aren't subscribed to the channel, if you could go and do that now, it would really help me out. So getting on to the final thing that I mentioned in the intro, there are two factors that can completely change a corner. Look at this hairpin at Spa, Bruel. This one is more difficult than the one at Suzuka because it's downhill and off camber. The same lines apply, but you have less grip due to the angle of the track, whereas this one at Major you have more grip due to the camber. You need to take into account the shape of the corner, factor in the camber and elevation, then you are away. The key to this is on camber adds grip, positive elevation adds grip, and vice versa. Using the theory I've learned, then I go and see how the pros do it. Now you've seen exactly how you should take each type of corner. Now look at the top replays again. So much of what they're doing suddenly makes complete sense. If you don't know what I'm on about when I say the top replays, each week the top times are shown on the global leaderboards, and if they have this little icon next to them, you can see exactly what they're doing. One more thing. What if you're going into a World Series event and there's just no replay at all available? Well, now you can use the exact principles we've covered today. It's absolutely foolproof. I hope you enjoyed this video guys, and I hope it helped. As I said earlier, if it did and you could help me by subscribing if you haven't already, I'd massively appreciate it. If you want to see more of my Gran Turismo tips and tricks videos, I put them all into a playlist for you here. Thanks again guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.